Good morning and welcome back to my channel. My name is Aryan Singh Rana and this video is the extension of the previous video in which we developed our first backend server in which was the book management system which handled the basic requests like adding data and reading the data or extracting the data from it. So this video is the extension of the previous video. In this, we have our objective is to implement the Node.js servers to handle crude operations, which means not only read and add but we need to implement update and delete functionalities as well. After that, we need to simply use the MongoDB to utilize. It is similar to the previous objectives. We need to utilize the MongoDB to store the book information and Mongo's library as well. And we need to create the endpoints for adding, updating, deleting, and searching books. So as you can see that the schema of the book is same as the previous one. Now the endpoint for adding is also same. Now the thing we have to enter as here as well is that there is a certain bit of changes. One is that we also need to implement the error handling in this, and we need to also see if whether the book was previously added to the database or not. If it was added to the database, then we would give this error saying that it is an invalid request, or we can say that the data already exists in our database. If the whole process of adding or creating the data about the certain book that the user is trying to enter in the database has successfully been stored inside our server, then what we database, then we need to show this code saying that status code which is 201 and the message book added successfully. Now for adding, this is the new functionality which I'll be discussing in deep about how it is all working out. So for adding, the API endpoint would look like this, which is API forward slash API forward slash books forward slash update. And then we are using a path param, which refers to the object ID, MongoDB object ID. So we need to specify which ID which data needs to be deleted according to its ID that we will be mentioning over here. So after that, we simply send the information that we need to that is needed to be updated inside the inside the object of the ID of its respective ID. So after that, if this operation is successful, then we'll simply say give the status code of 200, and if the and also display the message showing that books updated successfully. Now, if there is an error, it means that either the book was not created or the code was wrong. So so in that case, what would happen is that we will give out an error saying that the book not was not found and the status code would be 404. Now the again a new functionality deleting a book. The API endpoint is similar to the update one, but the only difference over here is that it refers to the delete over here instead of update. Now what happens is that again we will be deleting the databases. Sorry, deleting the details of the book according to their respective MongoDB IDs. After that, if the book was successfully deleted, the status code would be 200 and the message would be book deleted successfully. And if there is either no book inside our if the book data was not found with the specific ID that we mentioned, then the error would be of status code 404 and the message would be book not found. Now, we all remember from the previous study in which we were simply extracting our data from the database. Now over here, we will be implementing a search function. So it means that whatever detail we type in it, we should only get those book details which satisfies those parameters that we are trying that we have applied. So the query parameter is optional over here, but I'll be implementing the query parameter only over here. Other than that, the search parameters would be through the title, the author, the genre, the ISBN number, and the availability of the book. So these are the parameters. Any of these parameters could be mentioned to search the data of the books, or you can see that to extract the data from the databases which satisfies either of these or all of these parameters that has been applied by the user. After that, if we are getting the all the data successfully, it means that the search algorithm works successfully, and we'll be saying the message array of books matching the search criteria, and then we'll be displaying the whole array. After that, also we'll be giving the status code 200. And if there is an error inside the execution or while searching for the books, then we'll be saying that invalid search parameter. So now coming to the code. So first let's see the database. There is no database currently inside of it. So as we remember, there is a when we want to create a database or connect to the pre-existing database, then there is a connecting string in our MongoDB. So this is our connecting string. So this is the database we will be connected to, because the database was not was created previously, but I deleted it just to show the addition, updation, deletion, and the searching functionality. So I deleted the whole database. So the database is not created yet. So it would now create a new database because of this connecting string and this part that I'm mentioning over here, and it would connect itself to that database. After that, the it would create a new collection according to the model that I have specified over here. So this is the schema that the model would be following. So model is would be connecting to the collection books details, and it would be storing all the data with the schema of book details schema, which is this schema over here. Now, this was all done in the previous video. If you want to more detailed information on it, you can go and watch the previous video. We'll only talk about the added functionalities that I have added. So now currently going through how to add a new data. As we know previously, to add a new data, we will simply use the function which is pre-built with the model, inbuilt with the model, which is model name dot create. So as you can see that it is similar over here. Yeah, I forgot to mention about the error handling that we'll be doing over here. So with each functionality, whether we are deleting, adding, reading, or searching, or updating anything, we'll write the whole code inside a try catch block. Why we are doing that? Because if a user does something wrong that the our server isn't able to handle, then what happens is that our whole server would get crashed, and then we need to restart the server to get the extraction of the data going again, or do operations on a server. So that is not a viable situation. So to fix that, what we do is that we put all our codes that we know that an error could arise from this code due to some user error or some internal server error. So we put all those code inside a try block. And if there is any error that the try block catches, or try block triggers, or try blocks observe that the execution of code is not being done properly because of some error, then it would throw the error to the cache block. Now the cache block would make use of that error. So as you can see that this is the error being thrown by our try block. And after that, it would terminate the function by returning the response, which is res.status 500. So 500 means internal server error, and it would send us the response saying the status failed, and the message which is error.message. So now the try block throws an object named error. So this error contains multiple attributes, and one of these attributes is the message saying which specifies which particular error the current code is facing. So to access that, we simply make use of error object and the message key inside of it. Now, going to the adding data. So first, we are going to add the data. So first, we need to see if the data already pre-exists in our database, because we do not want to store duplicate data, because it would increase our storage space. So to do that, first, what I did is that I know in each and every book, there are three unique things that distinguish each and every database. One is title, second is ISBN number, and third is my email. Just a second. Going to Sorry, not email. It's author. It's not email. Okay. So yeah, these are the things that will be unique. Let's just remove the author only, because there can be multiple authors for different books. So yeah, let's say the ISBN number is the unique identifying number for each and every book, and the title is, of course, each book has its own different title. So these are the two parameters that we'll be checking. So to check if the data exists with these two things, what we'll do is that we'll first extract the data using the find function, using the first the model that is connecting to our collection, and will implement a find function. So find function would go through each and every object, or each and every data object, and it would check whether the entered that the user entered data that is entered by the user, or the user is trying to create new data using that data is pre-existing in one of these objects. If there are objects that define return, so if my end result of the found, as we all know, the find returns an array of object, and the objects are the or are all those objects which satisfy the condition which are mentioned within these curly braces. So if the end result found would contain an array of more than the size of 0, it means that there is a data which have there is a data object, or you can say there is an object in our database which contains the same details that the user is trying to enter, or the user is trying to create a new details or data for. So it would mean that it would create a duplicate data. So we are similarly doing this over here. So we'll simply checking that if the found length is not equal to 0, it means that there is some data that is pre-existing with these value, with the same ISBN and title value that the user is trying to create a new book detail with. So we'll simply return a response with the status code 400, and the response would say status failed, and the message would be book details already exist. So this take cares of the error response that is mentioned over here, which was this one, invalid request data. So yes, invalid request data. So it is similarly saying that we are similarly saying that the book details already exist. So we are not allowing we are not allowing the entry of the duplicate data. So if this return triggers, so it would terminate our whole add data function. And if it is not, if the command is not triggered, it would go on to creating a new data. So how we are creating a new data? First, we are taking our body object. So the body object would contain the details for the new book that the user for the new book for which the user is trying to create the record for, or the data for. So first, we'll make use of await function, which means that it would first wait for the database to store the data. So as you can see that books details dot schema dot create, then after it we are inside of it we are mentioning which data to create. So first it would check if the schema is applicable, or it is of valid schema, or the details that we are trying to enter is following the schema that the collection follows. If it is following that, then it would enter in the data. So as you can see that if it is entering the data, then it would return this response saying that 201 success. It means successful operation. Status code 201, and after that it would also show us the response saying that success. Just a second, let's remove this success. The book's details added successfully, and after that it would show the added details. Now this is how the adding function was working. Now coming to the reading, how we are reading from the data. So as we know that this is a bit more complex than the other things. So there were multiple parameters that were mentioned. So as you can see that the query parameter was optional, but I'm making use of the query parameter over here only. So the parameters were these things, these five things: title, author, genre, ISBN, and availability. So how I'm implementing this over here. So first I'll be extracting whatever the key value pair I'm getting from the request. So as you can see that request.query would give me the error of the query params, and this queue would be holding that object of query params. After that, what I am creating, as we all know, the query params inside the object of query param. Each query key contains its own value that will be utilizing for searching mechanism or searching algorithm. So what I am doing is that I am creating an array of objects, and each object contain a single key value pair that was inside our query param. So how it would be looking like? So as you can see that first I created a variable that would be storing our arrays of objects. And there's a specific reason for doing this. I'll explain you later. So first I get my array of keys. So object.keys, then the object name queue would return me the array of all the keys that are available inside my queue. After that, I'm utilizing my map function over here. So the map function will take the key, which is the element inside my object.keys value or array. So it would make use of that. So it would return, what would it would return? It would return this single element And this element, what is this element? So I am making use of the square braces to utilize the parameter k, because if I do not use this, then it is not taking it. It won't be making use of it, making use of the keys that is available inside our object keys array. So why is that? Because if we write k like this, then the JavaScript makes consider this whole key as a static key value, or as a static key, which means that the key would be created with the name key only. But as we know that the keys are different inside our arrays of arrays of keys, which is written by over here. So it is a dynamic entity. So to make use of it, and we all know that in each and every iteration of the higher order function map, the key value would always keep on changing. So to show those changes, we'll make use of the square bracket, which means that it will make use of this k over here. And similarly for extracting its value, so as you can see that the value would be made use of. So again over here, we are not making use of dot operator because we use dot operator to specify a static key name. But we know that the key is changing according to the whatever are inside of the object.keys array. So to because it is in a dynamic entity, that's why we are making use of this square operator or square brackets over here. So now this would return us individual objects of each key, and these objects would be stored inside our array. So why do we need to do this? Because we are utilizing the search parameter. So first we'll use the find operator, which means that each and every data that is satisfied by the parameters given to by us by the request would be shown inside our extracted data in the form of an array. So we are doing that? So first, what we are doing is that we are checking if any of the query parameters are mentioned inside our query parameter object. Because if there are no parameters mentioned inside of it, it means that there are no specific searching things that we need to imply. So we'll return the whole database itself, whole database, or the each and every data that is stored inside our database. So first we'll simply check if the after the map function, if the length of the QARR is 0, then what would happen is that we'll simply do not check for anything, and the find function would return us each and every data that is stored inside our database. But if there is a the returned array has some length, or it is greater than 0, then it means that there was some query parameters mentioned inside of our query param object, or was taken or extracted from the query params that was given by our request. So we are then making use of our logical operator or. It means that or takes our arguments or the conditions in the form of an array. So each and every single or condition that we need to check for is mentioned inside our array, and the array hold those conditions as a form of object. So that's why we are converting our whole parent query parameter object into individual objects which contains individual keys and value pair respectively into an array. So that's why just to implement or operator over here, so that it could the find parameter sorry find function could return the if the data if either of the mentioned query parameters or either of the mentioned parameters are satisfied with that specific object. So that's why I'm making use of or over here. So let's say there are 5 parameters, and if an object or the data satisfy 3 of those conditions that are mentioned within my object, and each object is contained within the array, so it would return that the find function would extract that data from the database and return it as the output inside of its array. So that's why I'm making use of or over here, because if I use and over here, then all of the parameters that the request is giving us should be satisfied for our data to be extracted from the database and shown as the output. So that's how the extraction is taking place. And similarly, if these everything goes well and this catch block isn't triggered, then it would return this status to status code 200, and the response would be status array of books matching the search criteria, and it would show us all the book details that matches those criteria. Now coming to the update one. So update one is again simple over here. I am making use of our path param over here this time. So to get the object of path param, we make use of request dot params, and I am extracting the ID from it because I know it would be only mentioning ID, because if we go to our router, so the key this key ID would be holding the MongoDB unique ID that the user would be entering. That's why I'm extracting this from over here. And after that, as you can see that I am simply searching if the mentioned ID, if the mentioned data with the if the data with the mentioned ID exists in our database or not. So that's why I'm making use of find over here, and this is the condition. So as I told you, each condition is mentioned within an object of its own. So this represents the unique MongoDB ID, and this is the ID that we are extracting from our path param. So if the length of the find is equal to 0, it means that there was no book with that ID. So it would give us an error. Sorry, it would give us a response with the status code 404, which means data not found. And the response would be books not found. Book not found. And if the array length is more than that, it means that the data is available with that unique particular ID. So after that, just to update, what we'll do is that we'll make use of the because we know that whatever the user wants to update is already within our requests body. So we'll extract that using the details a variable and is equal to request.body. So it would give us the data. After that, I'm making use of the inbuilt model functionality, which is find by ID and update. So what it would do, it would go through each and every data object's unique MongoDB ID, and if it matches the ID, then this is the parameter for matching the ID. So it is simply checking that if the ID key value inside my data is equal to the ID that I am extracting from the path param, then it would consider that as the so it signify that we have found our data. After that, we are making use of this set operator over here. So what it would do is that it would set our new objects. So as we know that the details that we want to update are within our details. Sorry, the data we want to update are within our details, and the details is the object in itself. And this set parameter takes the object that we want to update in our data that we just found using our ID. And after that, we are making use of this new parameter, which means that this because this variable would store our updated data. Because if I do not mention this new then true, then what happens is that this variable would just store the previously updated data or last updated data, which means that if I'm updating our data, then before updation, this variable would store that data before the updation, and it won't show us the updated data. So to show us the updated data or to store the updated data inside our updated details, we need to also mention a configuration. We can say it is a configuration object which specifies that we want a new data to be stored in our variable. After the successful updation, we'll simply again send the status code as 201 and the updated details in our response. Now coming to the delete, it is similar to our find by ID and update. As you can see that first, again, error handling. We are first checking that either the book is already the book detail is present in our database or not, with the help of the path param again over here. Because as we know that the API endpoint for update and delete was similar, but just the difference was that there was update before the ID param, path param, and for the delete one, there was delete before the path param ID. So again, simply we are checking for the data with the help of this command over here. If the length of the find array or you can say that the find function returned array, the array that the find function is returning, if the length is 0, it means that there is no data existing with the unique MongoDB that we are extracting from the path param. So it will simply say that data not found, and this response will be book not found. If it is finding that, then we are simply making use of the function of the inbuilt function of the model, which is find by ID and delete, and it would simply find by this respective ID, and it would delete the data. If no error occurs, then again we'll get the status code 0 as the status code 0 and the response as success, the book deleted successfully, and it would then show us that deleted data that we have deleted. Now, this was the only changes that I made, except I also added two more API routing functions. So as you can see that router.put. So what put does is that it is used to update our pre-existing data, or to you can say that to manipulate our pre-existing data. And this delete function is used to delete our data from the database. So that's all. Now let me show you how this is working with the help of the Postman. So as you can see that this is our you can see that this is our API. So for adding the API endpoint was looking like API forward slash books forward slash add. Now I'm adding multiple data, so that's why I was also forgot to mention that the create function also has the feature of adding multiple data at once. So to do that, we need to return an array of objects, and each object and the data would be creating or would be created according to each and every object that is mentioned inside that array. So as you can see that this is the array and these are our objects. So I am creating three datas inside of it. So if I put send over here, as you can see that success 201, the book's details were added successfully. And this is the status code over here, which means the successful creation of the data. And if we scroll down, as you can see that it will return us the data that we have created. Now let's cross check it with our MongoDB. As you can see that the database books was created, it means that the connection was successful, and we are also getting our collection book details. If I go to inside of it, as you can see that the three data that I have created was created successfully. And as you can see that this is our unique MongoDB ID that I've been saying for all this time. This is unique for each and every JSON object within our database. So as you can see that this is the key for it, and this is the object ID, and it is always unique. Now this is it. Now let's say we want to update the data. Okay. Let's say false. Okay. So we want to update the data. So API was looking like update, and we want to put it to put mode, put API mode. So let's say I want to update my let's say the stone book. Okay. So I'll copy my ID from over here, and I'll copy it like this. And it was the stone, right? Yes. And I'll remove the rest of the data from it. So yeah, now what would happen is that the API would look for my this object, and it would update it with this body object that I have written inside of my body. So let's say I want to change the author to William, and I want to change its availability to TRU true. Okay. Now as we know that the pre-existing data was our author was 1WW23 and the availability was false. Now if I send it over here, it is saying us it is giving us the status code 201. So it means that the operation was done successfully, and it is also giving us the updated data. As you can see that because of that new colon true, we are getting the updated data. So as you can see that the author has been updated and the availability has also been updated. Now let's cross verify in it inside our this Mongo compass. So let me just refresh it. Just a second, where is the refresh button? Okay, okay, just a second. So let me just, so as you can see that this has been successfully updated, and the William, we are getting William and true as well. And if we go and look at the created and deleted date and time, so you would be able to see that the both of these time are different. So as you can see that we created the data 2 minutes ago and updated it after 2 minutes. So as you can see that the data has been successfully updated. Now coming to the search functionality, these were creating and updating. So R and D operations are left. So let's go to the search one. So let's say if there aren't any query parameter mentioned inside my query parameters, or it mentioned inside my request. So this was the API for searching. So it should give me the whole data itself. So as you can see that, let's count the number of data. As we know that we added three data. Okay. So one, two, three. So we are getting all the three data. Now, let's say we want to add some parameters into it. Okay. Let's say the availability should be true. Okay. So as you all know that the data with the availability true is one. Okay, only one data. So if I click on send show, so as you can see that I'm getting only one data, which satisfy the parameter of availability being true. Now again, let's say okay, I'll remove this books, and let's say what do we want? Fiction. Okay, fiction is common for it. So what we'll do is that just to show that the OR operator is working, I'll be creating the availability key as true, availability and tru true, and I'll be also, yes, I'll do the genre one. So, genre, that is genre and fiction, because we all know that the fiction is common for all these three books details. So, what should happen is that because we are using an OR operator, so if either of these two conditions are satisfied within my object, so it would return me that data. So, as we all know that fiction is common for each and everyone, and the only exception is that only one of the data, which is the book, which is the data for the book stones, has the availability as true. So because it is an OR operator, it should give me all the three data. So as you can see that I'm getting all the three data. Now if I do it false, just a second, false. Now again, it would give me three data, because the data with the availability true also has the fiction as also has the genre as the fiction. So it would again give me three details. So as you can see, the one, two, three. Now if I simply remove this, sorry, not this. If I remove the genre, now it should give me only data that has the availability as false. So one and two, as you can see that the searching parameter is working quite well. Now coming to the deleting function. Okay. Let's say I want to delete this specific one. Okay. So I'll be deleting it. So the delete function was like delete, and then ID. After that, we want to get it to the delete mode. So let's say we'll be deleting the book name with the book name the SS stone. If I send it, as you can see that success, the book deleted successfully, and it is also showing us the deleted data. Now, if we go to our MongoDB and confirm it if it has been deleted or not. So as you can see that there are only two data, and which data was deleted. The deleted data, as you can observe, that was this data over here, which the book title name as a store name. Now, if what happens is that we have deleted this data, so this unique ID that we used to search this data with is also removed from our database, and it is mentioned over here. So as we know that it should give us an error, because if I again press send over here, it will give us an error showing that book not found. As you can see that we are getting the response as book not found, because the data was deleted, and we can if the data is deleted, then we cannot search it again. Well, that's how all the objective of this particular assignment was achieved. As you can see that you can also play with this code, because I've linked this code's repository in the description of this video. You can go through that repository once, and play it with yourself, playing how the error handling is working, and how the try block catch would be initiated. That's all, and thanks a lot for watching.